While developing, some projects seem to be accomplished very quickly, while other promised projects are sidelined. More than a few people have asked about the dog park. Should there be any such standards implemented when deciding what projects should take priority?
I go back to, I think that is, again, that is if you keep holding your elected officials for something that they have promised, and it is going on year 4, year 8, and they are still not producing the promises that they have made to you, I don't believe it's their fault. I think at that point in time, it is a group responsibility to hold that accountable and to see how either privately or civically or how a project can be done if you really want the project. I really do believe that you want to make certain projects special and unique to your city. So I believe if a neighboring city maybe already have something like that, I would like to see a project that is unique that would bring people to our area to want to come in, want to be at our restaurants, want to stay at our hotels, or want to stay at our parks. So I would like to think of different unique kind of projects that gives character to the city of Acworth, why a person would want to come to Acworth. So, but going back to the initial question, I think if a promise has been made and you have not seen that promise fulfilled, then it is your right and your duty to make sure either that promise is upheld, or that person who do not hold their promise is no longer beneficial for that elected seat, and it might be time for them to be replaced and have someone else that can come in and serve you, the constituent.
Absolutely, and they're already in place. Again, I've got to come back to you. You've got to be an educated consumer in the situation. You've got to understand how things work. So let's get an example. Okay, I remember as somebody else might have mentioned too, that we got a couple sets of questions that Rachel sent to us, and then for brevity, she shortened some of them down. But in another form of this question, she mentioned that the dog park was funded in the 2017 SPLOST. Okay, SPLOST is pay as you go, and the dog park was as a priority for SPLOST, is the way it was, and ran out of money. So as an example, that's why the dog park hasn't been built yet, because it hasn't been funded. Something that happens quicker, I think, in that question, the earlier version of the question, I think the Maple parking lot was one of that, and that's a good example. So here's how it worked. Okay, the Maple parking lot was actually funded through some grants and some different avenues. So how do you pick the priority? Funding. All right, the dog park just didn't get funded because there wasn't enough money out of SPLOST. Maple, the one that got done quickly and leapfrogged it, if you will, was funded in a different way from the get-go. And when the funding became available, that parking lot moved forward. Priority of safety, of need, of those kind of things. On Maple, there were some drainage issues and some problems that actually involved a homeowner. So there were some bigger issues there, and that the road was going to be torn up and practically destroyed and rebuilt in that area again anyway. So while you're there, you probably saved yourself a good 20% by going ahead and doing the parking lot in there. And the third thing is need. No doubt, I've got 2 dogs myself, and one of them's a high energy puppy, and so I understand the dog park. But in this particular situation, the city was trying to draw more retail establishments and more, get the storefronts open and keeping them open in the downtown area. And, rumor has it, but I think it's pretty true. For example, you had Red Top Brewery who was there, who had a parking issue. And then right across the street now, who really is going to have a parking issue, there's a Mexican restaurant coming. So we got a new restaurant coming to town and all. And so if you want to bring those businesses in, you want to bring that tax-based revenue in, you want to bring places for people to be able to go and to visit and enhance that quality of life, they got to have some place to park. Hopefully they're parking a golf cart, right? but not everybody has a golf cart. So when the people come in, they've got to have a place. So you got those things. It's funding, it's need, and is there some pre-existing issue and that. And I think the city did a pretty good balance on that. I still want that dog park. I think there's a great spot for it down by the Scout Hut. Most people here may not know where the Scout Hut is, but there's still some great spots for it. And I think it's coming. It's coming. We just got to get, there's some priority things that are going. But I think hopefully I answered the question for the most people out there on how it happens. It's just, again, if you're not on the inside, or if you don't take the time to ask or get educated, it may seem not fair, especially if you're a dog owner, right? But if you're a Mexican food fan, so anyway, that there is a method in place, and most people just don't get a chance to understand it. But hey, I'm there. You call me, my number will be there. If you put me on that board, if I'm fortunate to serve, then absolutely, I'll take the time to answer those questions for you.
So prioritizing anything as far as a budget and running a city is very tough. As a small business owner for 30 years, and even now opening another small business, trying to prioritize what you want to spend your money towards definitely is part of that budgeting process. The hard part is that we see things from the outside, not necessarily what's going on inside. So if people came in and came to the meetings, they might realize that, as me, I would love to have the dog park. As a veterinarian, that's something that I would, that I did talk about and push for back in the day. But as we look at it, the people that have streets that still have not been paved, or that have potholes that need to be repaired, those people's concerns may be more important in a prioritizing manner than a dog park. Those people may not even have pets. So how do we look at a city as a whole is our biggest thing. And so being best for the city is our goal. And we need to remember that while there's certain things in our eyes may be a top priority, it's our city leadership trying to help prioritize where the money and the time should be allocated. Now, the dog park, just for sake of discussion, is still on the books to be used with SPLOST dollars. So it's not completely struck yet. It's just still kind of been moved because of the other things that have taken priority. Power poles, things that we have to do as far as improving our stormwater, and things that come as more of an emergency thing that have to be addressed. But that's part of that running a city. It's looking ahead and saying, where do we need to spend our money now? How do we budget that? And then encouraging everybody to come to City Hall and come to a meeting and hear what we're actually doing and what the plans are, and not wondering why their projects haven't been completed.
Yeah, actually there is. It all starts with making sure everybody understands it's public. It needs to be public knowledge, right? We need to take a look at the list of projects that are out there, the short-term, long-term impact, positive or negative, that it have in our community. Based on those, we need to set the priority based on that. And then the citizens also need to be involved in that. They need to know what is on the books, what's coming, and then they also need to have an input. But as far as the dog park goes, if that money is there and it's been promised to our citizens, then we need to fulfill that. 7 years is way too long for that money to just be sitting there. We need to know where that money is. And I want to find out where we're at in that process. And the citizens need to be able to go and ask questions and get honest answers from their leaders. Because we can't just do things behind closed doors. It needs to be in public. It needs to be so that citizens can find it. It needs to be accessible, and we need to have transparency, because that's the only way we're going to be able to put confidence back in the government.